Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to you, my Bible 103 students. This is your instructor, James Shelton, coming to you again with another video, this one detailing the big project of the course that you will be working on steadily beginning next week. You certainly don't have to wait until next week, but the first assignment that goes toward this capstone project will be due next week. I'll have a little bit more to say about that in just a few minutes. The capstone project. For this course, we're asking you to write a collection of 6 elevator pitches. Imagine you're on an elevator with someone, and usually you don't have very long with someone on an elevator. So what we're asking here is for 6 of these pitches based upon the 6 acts of God's story outlined in our textbook, The Drama of Scripture. Now, let me say something right up front that students sometimes get confused because there is there's a book in the New Testament called Acts. Okay, so when we start referring sometimes, when instructors and professors start referring to acts, sometimes with act one, act two, we always try to make it singular to try to help you. But sometimes in the minds of students, and it happens quite a bit, uh, sometimes uh, folks think we're wanting you to write on Acts chapter 4 or Acts 3. And that is not the case in any of these capstone projects, that these assignments. Okay, where this is solely about. Now you're going to reference scripture for sure, and you will be referencing Acts for sure when we come to Act 5, which is of course the church. But when we say the 6 acts of God or Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, we are referring to these very acts of God's story outlined in your textbook, not the New Testament book. Now, an elevator pitch is defined as a succinct and persuasive sales pitch. So, the goal of this assignment project is to create a persuasive and engaging retelling of each act of the biblical story. And so, for your final capstone project submission, you should compile all of the capstone activities that you've completed throughout the course into one document. Okay, with the guidelines followed below. I'll get to those. In addition, students should include an emphasis on how each act builds on the previous act. How does Act 2 build on Act 1? How does the fall, Act 2, build on creation? All right, and then of course, how does Act 3, Israel, build upon the fall? Okay, and so forth. And what will result is a cohesive and progressive story of Scripture. Um, you should include any suggestions for change that your instructor makes throughout the course, and the final project should be in its final polished form. It's due on the very last day of class, and here are the guidelines. 1, each act of the drama of Scripture should be summarized in 500 words, resulting in a 3,000 word paper. Now, before you gasp, um, we're doing this one part at a time, week by week. And if we can stay ahead of the game, you will be surprised at how the words mount up. Now, here's where it gets very specific. Okay, paper should be in Times New Roman font, size 12, double spaced. Okay, not Arial, not sans serif, not serif, not Georgia, Times New Roman, and you might want to go ahead and write all of your stuff uh, in that, not just the capstone projects, but the other assignments as well, just to get used to using Times New Roman if you're not, okay? Paper should cite our textbook and other course resources using MLA format, which are in-text citations. Many of you are doing that already. Um, so just be aware of that. And then the final one, we're going to be grading you for college level grammar and syntax. Be sure to utilize a proofreader And I would strongly suggest that you utilize the online writing lab, the free online writing lab here at Point. Okay. So that's the final project. Now, how are we going to get there? Well, I'm glad you asked because I'm going to take us back to the assignments page now. And these are also going to be available on each module for the weeks. Your first capstone activity is part of week 2. All right. And so here you go. This week, you'll begin building your capstone assignment for the course. And then I've already told you about the final product. You can look at that on your own. But for the capstone assignment this week, we're wanting you to answer the following questions and begin your research. Remember to cite your sources and to include scripture references when discussing specific parts of the story. All right. Now, you can submit this document having answered just like number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. But this cannot be the final prose version of this document. What I mean by that is paragraphs and none of these numbers. The work you're doing each week. We're going to want you to polish up that. But the initial version of that does not need to be polished. Okay. All right. Raw notes are fine. Okay. So if you want to do it like that, matter of fact, I would encourage you to just go ahead and copy these questions into a document, make it Times New Roman, 12-point font, and just answer these questions. All right, and that'll get you off to a great start. Now, this is not due until next week, but I did want to go ahead and get a video out early to you during the course to make you aware of this project. Again, a 3,000 word document just sounds like for some it seems insurmountable. But if you build it week by week, um, in the end, you're just going to be polishing it up, making sure your references are tight, making sure it's Times New Roman 12-point font, double spaced, making sure that each act is at least 500 words and at least a total of 3,000. And before you know it, you'll have this document. Okay. I'm available for any questions that you have on this document. And oh, yeah, you'll have other assignments and discussions and all of that going on at the same time, as well as life. But know that I'm here for you. I'm praying for you. James.Shelton@point.edu for any questions, or you can email me here on Canvas as well. It is a joy, again, to be on this journey with you. And I look forward to interacting with you in the discussion topics. Remember, your first discussion topic, your original post for this week's discussion topic, week 1, is due by Friday. Before your head hits the pillow, I'll send an announcement just to remind you in the next couple of days. All right? Have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I hope to see you soon.